Hey guys, Marissa at Kitchen Table Stamper. Today I want to run you through this beautiful reverse words note card. This is the card that we're going to make on Wednesday, March 22nd at my Coffee and a Card. It's 10 a.m. to noon. Stop in when you can and make a card, have a cup of coffee, $5 for the event, or it's free with your $35 order. If you are not local, I thought you might still enjoy the card, so I'm making this video tutorial and project sheet for you. You can find the project sheet on my blog, kitchentablestamper.com. I'll put a direct link in the details for you. The products that I used for this card include, from the Oh So Succulent bundle, I used the Succulent Framelits to get this fun little branch, but I thought I'd mix and match this die set since it's brand new with something a little bit more classic from the annual catalog. So I pulled out the Petite Petals and the Petite Petals punch, and we're going to use that flower so that we can switch up this succulent set and give it a little different look. I also use the Bitty Butterfly punch again. Love this little punch, and we're going to make some vellum butterflies. And I'm using, for the first time, I just cracked open this pack of Designer Series paper. This is a Falling in Love Designer Series paper, and we are going to use a strip of this beautiful multicolor pattern here with the butterflies. But you can see that this paper pack is just gorgeous. There's so much variety in here. You get two of each design. On one side you get a graphic print, and on the other side you get a photo realism print. So you can see on this side you get that beautiful photographic lace, and on the other side a floral print that coordinates. It's a soft, sweet pattern paper that's going to look beautiful for anything feminine that you've got coming up. Mother's Day, this would make beautiful Easter cards. Look at those colors. All kinds of spring greetings, and I've combined it with the reverse words from Sale-a-bration. This is a new Sale-a-bration offering, so if you were to say get the Oh So Succulent bundle and the Falling in Love Designer Series paper, which go together perfectly by the way, you could get the reverse words for free. This reverse words set is so much fun for cool inking techniques, and we're going to get into that in just a minute here. Okay, so those are our products. For our Stampin' pads, I've used some Crumb Cake, Blushing Bride, and Sweet Sugar Plum. Got a couple of little embellishments here for this card. I've got some washi tape. This is a copper foil one that's just gorgeous from Affectionately Yours, and copper thread. For our cardstock supplies and measurements, let's get those out of here. I've got a Blushing Bride card base that's 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I also have a little bit of Blushing Bride for our flowers. This piece is 1 by 3 3/4. I have a scrap of vellum cardstock for the butterfly. If you have 1.5 by 2, because you need to get it in the punch, that will work for you. Tip Top Taupe 2.5 by 2 should do for you to cut these little branches, die cut these little branches. I have some scraps left over from a beautiful window box that I did, so I'm just using the scraps. You need a Very Vanilla panel that is 3 by 5.5, and our Falling in Love Designer Series paper, this piece is 1 3/4 of an inch by 4.5. The first thing I'm going to do is I've chosen kind of a lacy looking filigree flower from the Petite Petals. I've got Blushing Bride ink, and I'm going to stamp 3 of those on this little scrap. Set that aside to punch in just a minute. Now I have my Hooray word stamp here from the reverse words, and I'm going to ink it up entirely with Blushing Bride ink. And I have a little finger dauber and some Sweet Sugar Plum, and I'm going to just dab the Sweet Sugar Plum ink along the edges here. I just did top and bottom edge. You can get creative, go all the way around if you like. Now we've got our Sweet Sugar Plum and Blushing Bride on the stamp, and I'm going to bring in a little water bottle and I'm going to spritz this stamp just once very lightly. I'm going to move it out of the camera though because I don't want to ruin everything else on the table. Alright, so it was 2 light little spritzes. Now we're going to stamp our word on the very vanilla cardstock, giving our ink a minute to transfer and letting those 2 colors, the Blushing Bride and the Sweet Sugar Plum, just combine and swirl underneath the pressure of the stamp. Got a little halo going on here. That's all right. We're going to fix that when we add our little splashes. All right, this is a little splat image, and I got this from the Swirly Bird stamp set. I'm just going to ink it up with the Blushing Bride and grab the dauber with the Sweet Sugar Plum and daub a little bit of the sugar plum, and I'm going to repeat that spritzing. So I gave it a little spritz. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper here so I can stamp off the edge. But what we want to do here is we want to stamp right off the edge of the cardstock there. Make it look like the ink is traveling. And I'll stamp off. And I'll grab some more Blushing Bride. A little more Sugar Plum. Then I'm gonna carry on with some more little spots. Stamp off. And repeat until we have a nice speckled effect to our satisfaction on the background. And I've got some Blushing Bride, just the 2nd generation, because I stamped off and then spritzed with water, and that's going to give me an even lighter effect. Okay, so I'm pleased with my hooray and my spatters, so we'll set that aside to dry for a minute while we do some punching and inking. Now let's punch out these little flowers that we did earlier. And we'll ink the edges of these. We've got the little finger dauber and the Blushing Bride ink. Let's put a little ink around the edges and give them a little bit more texture and dimension. Well, we've got the dauber and the Blushing Bride. Let's ink the edge of our card base. I like a very subtle inking. I don't want it to look sloppy, so I'm just barely putting a little bit of shadow on the edges here. Now if you look at our sample, I've got a couple of those little petite petal flowers on the background. Let's stamp those guys in while we've got our ink open here. And I just want them to peek out in the corners, like they're kind of fluttering across the page here. So there's our stamping on the card base. I've got my Bitty Butterfly punch and some vellum cardstock here. Punch out a little butterfly. And I'm going to switch out my Stampin' Pierce mat here for just a second, and I'm going to bring in the faux mat that comes with the die brush. I love a multitasker, and this mat that comes with the die brush is one of those multitasking tools. Got my stylus from the Simply Scored tool and my flowers. What I'm going to do is just running in a small circular motion, I'm going to push on the center of that flower and just roll that stylus in circles. And what that's going to do is that's going to give this dimension to our flowers. Makes them a little cup. Isn't that fun? And it's a simple and fast way to do it. So again, just running in circles. And probably wiggling the camera. And there's our little flower, perfectly cupped, ready for a pearl in the center. There we go. And while we're at it, I've got my little butterfly here. I'm going to just trace down the center of the butterfly with the stylus, and look at how it gives that butterfly some shape and dimension. Okay, so I've got some little basic pearl embellishments here. There's the 2mm ones that come, I think they're 2mm, that come on the continuous line. Cut 2 of those, and we'll embellish the center of our butterfly. Now I've got the 3mm pearls, and I'm putting one in the center of each flower. There they are. Our embellishments are coming together, aren't they? And our hooray panel is starting to dry. We're going to do a quick little die cutting, and then we'll assemble this card. Okay, so I've got my Succulent Framelits dies, and I'm going to use this little branch. I have 2 little scraps of Tip Top Taupe, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this in 2 layers. We'll cut both of them at one time. The key here is going to be to roll through and then roll back again so we can cut through both layers nice and clean. So we've got our 2 branches, and as you can see, both of them have a little bit of texture on from this die. I think this is a really neat feature of the Stampin' Up! Die. It adds that little speckled texture to these branches. I have some crumb cake ink and a sponge dauber. And what we're going to do is just very gently, we're going to rub this ink on the branch. It's going to pick up that texture a little bit. It's going to define the edges and make these branches just a little bit more significant. You want to use a light hand. You can always add a little bit more ink. It's hard to take it away. And you don't want to tear your little branch. It's delicate, but inking it makes all the difference. Okay, so before we adhere our vanilla layer to our card, we want to add a little embellishment here with this banner. So we'll cut a dovetail. On the top half of the banner. Now I'm going to lay the banner on the vanilla. And then I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of this panel. And I want to put a few of those dimensionals supporting the bottom half of this banner because it hangs over the vanilla. Okay, my adhesive is all exposed, and we're going to add the panel to the card front. I like to use my grid paper, make sure that my panel's not going uphill or down. Now I've got this pretty washi tape from Affectionately Yours. Let's get a piece of that on there. I want that to stick out past the butterfly banner and overlap just a bit. I want it to have kind of a rustic torn edge. I didn't mention this one while I was showing you my embellishments. I've got this pretty sweet sugar plum ruched ribbon, and I'm going to cut that a bit shorter than my washi tape. And you can see flat on one end, a nice angle cut on the other. And I've got some tear-in tape. I'll put that on the back of the ribbon. Now it's a sticker, and we can add that layer. I'm going to tie a tiny bow with the ruched ribbon, and what you want to do is fold backwards. You're not twisting, you're just folding. Hold that between your thumb and index finger. Wrap around your index finger. Then your index finger on your left hand will meet your index finger on your right hand. Pinch the loop of the bow and pull. Did you see that? Now you've got a perfect tiny little bow. Now holding the tails, you want to kind of tighten your loops, keeping control. There it is. This ribbon ties such a nice, flat, little bow. I really am enjoying working with it. It's available in all those new in colors, so you'll be seeing this in my projects a lot. I'm enjoying the way it ties. And trim my tails. I'll set that aside for a minute. Now, I have some copper thread here, and I want to take off about a wingspan. I pull away from the spool until my arm is completely outstretched. It's a nice long piece. And I want to get my embellishments adhesive ready. So my flowers are each going on a glue dot, and they're ready to just peel and stick then, because we're going to use the flowers to secure the copper foil or the copper thread. Okay, so I'm going to wrap my thread around 3 fingers, get some loops, and then I'm going to kind of pinch the loops so they're not just concentric circles anymore. All right, when you're happy with your loops, then you'll start adhering the flowers. And the flowers will hold these little loops all in place. Next, our little bow. I'm going to add a little glue dot, a mini one, on the back of each loop. And tuck that in. That's going to further secure those copper loops, those copper thread loops. Now our branches are a little long. I want them shorter, so I'm going to just snip off the bottom segment there. With a little bit of multi-purpose glue, I'm gonna just dab on the back of the dot there. I'm gonna tuck this one in low under the flower. And then this one I won't cut quite as much off. I want that one a little bit longer. Add in some glue here. Tuck that behind the flower. See how pretty? Okay, our butterfly needs a glue dot right in the center there so we don't lose that pretty little crease. Now for the last detail on this card, I've got a wink of Stella glitter pen. It's clear glitter. It's on a fine paintbrush, and we're just going to brush the wings of our butterfly and make it sparkle. And then I'm going to add a touch in the center of each flower. And I'm just touching the brush from the center and making a small little swatch of glitter on each petal. I don't know if the camera's picking up the sparkle on those butterfly wings for you, but they have a very soft, pearly sparkle. It's not real glammy and glittery. It's just very fine glitter and almost makes the vellum look pearly. Okay, there's our cards for today. If you've got any questions about card and coffee, or in the Chicago area and you want to join us, you can email me, marissa@kitchentablestamper.com. If I can help you with a celebration order before it's all over, because celebration sets are while supplies last, please email me. I'll help you out. Marissa@kitchentablestamper.com. Thanks for watching.